45%. And for the past 2 decades, electrical demand or load has been flat across the country. We're here today because that era appears to be coming to an end rapidly. With exponential growth in the domestic technology and manufacturing sectors, utilities and grid experts across the country are telling us that electricity demand is poised for truly remarkable growth. Meeting this demand growth may provide to be one of the greatest challenges that we'll face, and also opportunities of the 21st century for our citizens, our economy, and the defense and security of our country. I want to thank our witnesses for being here to share their perspective on this historic load growth and what is at stake if we do not meet it. The load growth is being driven by 3 main factors as we evaluate it. First, it is the reshoring of industry and advanced manufacturing spurred by the bipartisan infrastructure law, the CHIPS Act, and the IRA. Construction spending on manufacturing has more than doubled since we signed these bills, and I think you see this behind you, signed these bills into law as shown in the chart behind me. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. People don't realize how much is coming into the U.S. and how rapidly in the demand. That's all, that tells you the spread of energy that we need and what we don't have maybe. So when you look at Europe, EU has been flat as a pancake. Most of all the world's been flat as a pancake, and here we are. We are seeing new factories to build advanced energy and semiconductor technology spring up practically every week. Second, it is a revolution in advanced computing applications, especially artificial intelligence and the rapid growth in data centers to provide the processing power needed for those technologies. And I understand that they just have an unquenchable thirst for power as far as the data centers. And third, it is the push to electrify technologies across the multiple sectors, like the administration's push to flood the market with EVs, which I think they're way over their skis on. And I've been cautioning and warning them from day one. The North American Electric Reliability Corporation, or NERC as we know it, projects in its 2023 long-term reliability assessment that there will be 90 gigawatts of demand growth by 2030. Put that in perspective. That's over 10% of this peak of the U.S. electrical demand, which is about 750 gigawatts. But even that number is likely conservative. NERC relies on data submitted in the previous year from industry, and the forecasts just keep growing unbelievably faster than what they can keep up with it. Last month, this is unbelievable, last month, the Texas grid operator revised its 2030 load forecast from last year to add 40 gigawatts of new expected load growth. One state. That's like adding the demand of the entire state of California to the Texas grid 6 years from now. That should be a wake-up call. I hope it is. We need to be prepared to meet this demand. Let me be clear. The load growth is an opportunity of generation, and it's ours to lose. The reason we have the growth is that industries which will define the 21st century, chips, AI, advanced manufacturing, are tripping over one another to build in America. They're coming from all over the world. But there is no guarantee of success, to put it plainly. We can't be open for business if we can't keep the lights on. If America can't build the energy infrastructure needed to support these industries with reliable and affordable power, we'll be forfeiting the opportunity to be on the forefront of technologies of the future and cede control to China and other nations that we cannot necessarily trust. And right now, between the administration's policies and our inability to act in Congress, it seems like we may be in the real danger of doing just that. We've heard from both FERC and NERC that our grid's reliability and affordability are at risk because we are retiring base load, dispatchable generation faster than we can replace it. They came in and spoke with me and told me that basically we're taking off dispatchable 24/7, whether it be coal, nukes, whatever it may be that we can depend on, and now even natural gas because of an environmental movement, and trying to replace it with intermittent power, and they're very, very concerned across the board. NERC's summer assessment came out last week. This is brand new numbers, and shows half the country at elevated risk of blackouts this summer, as shown in this chart. If you live or represent one of these areas, tell them to watch out. They're going to be in trouble. Potential is great that they may be having rolling brownouts and even blackouts. And that should be concerning to everybody in this administration and every senator and congressperson who represents those areas. Last July, NERC even added energy policy as a brand new category of major risk facing our grid. When NERC, basically nonpartisan, says the policies that you're putting out in Washington, and only Washington can fix it, is basically putting us at risk. You should take heed. It's ridiculous that government action is creating new categories of grid risk instead of preventing the risk. As if to prove NERC's point, EPA recently finalized 4 new power plant rules that, as far as I can tell, aim to kill coal completely and stop natural gas from replacing it. It's a double whammy. I don't know what they're thinking of. Even though these dispatchable resources are essential for reliability. And I've said this to them, the transition is going to happen, but you can't take something off before you have something equally as good, if not better, to replace it with. You might not like coal, but coal's built this country what it is today. We're doing it better and cleaner than any place else in the world. And the transition's there. No one's fighting the transition. Just give us other jobs that we can do, take care of our family, make a living. That's fine. The bottom line is we don't have that technology yet. We're not there. But they're just damned to do it because of the political reasons. And that's what we're trying to make sure they understand that it's not going to work. These dispatchable resources are essential for the reliability, as I've said. In this administration, we're serious about onshoring critical industry, the ones driving the load growth. They wouldn't be in a race to take power offline. They'd be racing to bring new generation on. But instead, it's getting harder and harder to permit and build new energy infrastructure and connect new generation to the grid. It just is. We now have 2.6 million megawatt hours of generation waiting an average of 5 years to connect. Think about that. So 2.6 million megawatt hours waiting to go and nowhere to go with it. For example, in West Virginia, in my little state, we have one plant, over 1,800 megawatts, state-of-the-art combined cycle gas plant with carbon capture. The cleanest it can possibly be, the cleanest. But the company's telling me they have to wait half a decade before they even get the green light to even start the permitting. It's unbelievable. And to be clear, these are not just problems for fossil plants. It's as bad or even worse for wind. I can't believe this chart. This is where wind demand, this is what's happening in wind, how far it's gone down. They can't connect. There's nowhere to connect. Solar is doing much better because solar can get into the grid system faster. It's in areas where the grid's already there. Wind is coming in areas, whether it be offshore or whether it be somewhere out to where there's no grid system whatsoever. And they cannot get there because they can't get permitting. And if the majority leader, Senator Schumer, believes that what was done cured all the problems, I got news, it didn't do it. American Clean Power just published their 2024, as you can see. We're on pace to install less wind in 2024 than we did during the worst year of the Great Recession, as shown in the chart. There was the recession coming out of it here. Now we're down to there. We have to make it easier to build generation, pipelines, transmission lines to meet the moment, and that's why the permitting is needed so desperately. FERC finalized 2 rules last week, which in time may help build new transmission, but let me be clear. These rules are using the tools FERC currently has and are not a replacement for congressional action. These rules help with one aspect of one part of a bigger set of the grid permitting problems. I know all of you all have looked into this, but as my friend Senator Hickenlooper said, they're a Band-Aid on Congress's inaction, which you're totally right, Senator. For example, the new rules took action on transmission lines within regions. Transmission lines already within the regions, not for the inter-regional lines that are truly have the most reliability and affordability benefits to offer. It didn't affect them at all. And only if the rules prove durable in courts and under future administrations. They're all going to be challenged. I want to quote FERC Commissioner Clements 2 days after the rules came out, and she said, and she's retiring in June, considerable work remains to be done, both at the Commission and in Congress, if we are to realize the modern electricity grid on which the continued vitality of the United States economy and security increasingly depends. For some of these next steps, particularly interregional planning and permitting reform, congressional action could be critical in providing direction and momentum to the Commission. And just so we're clear that permitting and transmission legislation is not partisan priority, let me also quote Mario Loyola, a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation who served in the White House during the Trump administration. He said after FERC issued its new rules, Transmission expansion has only become more difficult. These are problems only Congress can solve. I have to say I couldn't agree more. There are critical permitting problems for all types of energy infrastructure that only Congress can fix, and I remain committed to addressing that. Myself and Senator Barrasso's team have been working diligently for quite a while. We finally have language. We're going to start sharing this language with everyone that people can see where we are, and hopefully that maybe we can all get our act together here. In fact, each of the industry witnesses before us today submitted technology that speaks in stark terms to the permitting challenges facing new sources of electricity supply and demand. I look forward to hearing more from our witnesses and topic shortly. With this, I'm going to turn to Ranking Member Barrasso for his opening remarks.
Well, thanks so much, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for holding today's important hearing. The Americans' demand for electricity is expected to grow rapidly through 2030. In fact, we may be entering a period of sustained demand growth unlike anything we have seen since the 2 decades following World War II. As you said, Mr. Chairman, we cannot be open for business if we cannot keep the lights on. The biggest source of new electricity demand is expected to come from data centers. Data centers enable cloud computing, Bitcoin mining, and artificial intelligence. How we meet this growing demand for electricity will have serious economic and security consequences for our nation. Stakes couldn't be higher. In fact, many believe that the race for artificial intelligence with communist China will be more consequential than the space race with the former Soviet Union. And the AI race has already begun. Data centers running artificial intelligence consume massive amounts of electricity. Some estimates suggest that electricity demand for these data centers will double between now and 2030. Whoever secures affordable and reliable electric power, China or America, will have a big head start in the race for artificial intelligence. And right now, America is not positioned well. Our grid is already strained. For years, the North American Electric Reliability Corporation, NERC, has raised alarm about grid reliability. It's warned that the premature retirement of coal and natural gas-fired power plants has increased the risk for blackouts and brownouts in much of the country. Yet the retirements continue, and President Biden is making the situation worse. Last month, the Environmental Protection Agency issued new rules that will force the premature closure of even more coal and natural gas-fired power plants. These plants play a major role in ensuring electric reliability. They also help make electricity more affordable. President Biden doesn't seem to care at all. He wants the cost of complying with EPA rules to be high. He wants to force operators to shut down these plants before the end of their useful life. It is a disgrace. We cannot regulate our way to more electric generation. When it comes to data centers, the quality of the generation source is as important as the quantity of electricity generated. Now, I acknowledge wind and solar can help, yet they are weather dependent. Batteries, too, can help. Yet batteries are expensive and can't provide power for extended periods. They also require vast amounts of minerals from China, from the Congo, from Indonesia, and other countries with horrible human rights and environmental records. We need a reliable, steady, and balanced supply of electricity. Nuclear, coal, natural gas, and hydropower can provide that. With demand poised to surge, it only makes sense to keep our existing power plants operating while also building new generating capacity. Our goal should be addition, not subtraction. Mr. Chairman, the 20th century was the American century. Which country will lead the 21st century is still up for grabs. Much depends on how America capitalizes on the potential of artificial intelligence. The President's opposition to coal, to natural gas, and to even hydropower, the fuels that generate 65% of our electricity, is a white flag. It is a surrender, an act of surrender to China. Mr. Chairman, this chart shows that China has added 262 gigawatts of coal-fired electric generation since the Paris Climate Agreement in 2025. The red lines, how much China has added from coal-fired power plants to electric generation. Meanwhile, the United States has shut down over 100 gigawatts of coal-fired electric generation. What does this mean? It means that when China's AI developers need electric power, the Chinese Communist Party is going to make absolutely sure that they will get it. and they will get it from coal. When America's AI developers need power, will it be enough? Will it be reliable? Will it be affordable? Right now, under Joe Biden and the Democrats, the answer is no. The race for artificial intelligence is one America cannot afford to lose. And we cannot win this or any other race with China if we are unwilling to use the very energy sources that China is going to exploit to the fullest. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. I'd like to turn to our panel of witnesses.